Hello everybody, this is Dee from Dee's Delicious Bites, and this is a different kind of video today. I have been asked to show you guys how I make my mask. By no means am I a seamstress. I sew by hand. It is not that great. It doesn't look professional in any way, but I have been asked more than once to show you guys how I make my mask. And yes, I am sitting on the floor in my family room because that is how I do it. I am comfortable in this position. And so let's get at it because this is going to take a minute and I'm hoping not to be on here very long. So what you're going to need is some needle and thread. If you have a sewing machine, by all means, use your sewing machine. You'll need a thimble maybe. I need one because I'm sewing by hand. You're going to need some straight pins. I have all my straight pins stuck in my little pin cushion. You are going to need some scissors. You're going to need a measuring tape. You are going to need pen or pencil or something for your markings. I am using the hair ties or the hair bands with the little metal piece on them. I got these at the dollar store. You got probably about 7 of them, 6 or 7, probably 6 for $1. I don't remember. I bought them a while ago. You're going to need something to pinch the nose of the mask together and hold it there. So what I am using are bread ties, and I use 3 of them at a time. So that's what these are. You can use, I was told, girls at work was talking about using paper clips and straightening them out and stuff like that. You can use pipe cleaners, whatever you can find that is flexible but yet holds its form once you bend it. That's what you want to use. And I just have this piece of cardstock or cardboard just to measure, not to measure, but to get a straight line when I'm drawing my line. And then you're going to need some fabric. I am using 100% cotton. You can use batik. I got this at Joann Fabrics. This is what they call a fat quarter. It's what quilters use. It's $2.99 for a square like this, and you can get 2 masks, maybe 3, depending on how big you make them. When I first started making them, I was doing 7 by 7 and I could get 3. I've since moved it up to like about 7.5 by 7.5 or 7.5 by 8. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in that regard in just a minute. So anyway, oh, and you'll need your iron. So hopefully you have sewing machines. This will go quicker for you if you do. So all I do is double my fabric over just the way it came. And then I measure it to see how far I want to go. So measuring this out from here to here, that's a little over 9 inches. I don't want that much. So I'm going to pull it back. That's more than I want. And then I'll measure it again. That's a little over 7.5. It's like 7 and let's do it at 7.5 because that's what I'm used to. And I don't have a pattern or anything for this. I just set up one day. I looked at one of the simple paper masks that I had been wearing at work, and I said, how can I make this mask? So just from looking at it, I made a mask. That's how I sew. I usually just look at something and I can usually go ahead and make it without a pattern. So that's why, and this is 7.5 this way as well, you guys. So that's why I really didn't want to show you guys how I make my mask because it is nothing professional. I barely have measurements. I can eyeball stuff and just kind of do it. So this is what it is. I hope it's helpful. I'm trying. I was asked, so here it is. So I drew my line. So we got 7.5 by 7.5. And then I'm just going to cut that. This may be a 2-part video. I'm going to try to not make it be a 2-part video, but it could be. You've got all this extra fabric up here hanging off the edge. That's too much. So you're just going to cut it off. This flap right here, you're just going to cut that off. We don't need it. We want 7.5 by 7.5. So cutting that off. keep this though because it's good for the ends. You'll see how I'm going to use that. So 7.5 by 7.5. Hit it with the iron a little bit because you want this end down here to be nice and crisp. It's going to matter as we go along. So here we go. Here's our square. 7.5 by 7.5. You open it up. And this is what you have. So fold it back up. You're going to take your 3 bread clips or bread ties, or your pipe cleaner, whatever it is you're going to use. And then I fold it over. I've got the 3 bread ties, and then I just fold it over like that. You're going to open this up and put your bread tie in there. Just lay it in there. After you lay it in there, you fold the fabric over. Just like that. And I don't know how many inches that is. I couldn't tell you. I folded it over, and I just give myself enough room to pin it, but not pin through the bread ties, because you're going to want to sew it right here, right under the bread ties where you're going to want to sew it. So I take my straight pin and I pin it close to the bread tie. And I do that because I know when I'm going to sew, I'm going to sew underneath that pin so as not to sew into the bread tie. Or pipe cleaner, or whatever you use to make it stiff. So then I put the 3 pins in there. Be right back. Hold on, guys. All right, next up, I've threaded my needle. I'm sure you probably can't see that, but I've threaded my needle. If you've got your sewing machine, you got your fabric ready to go for the sewing machine. So we're just going to sew a straight stitch, a running stitch, right across here underneath the needle. Start all the way in the corner. And you're just going to sew it. And it doesn't matter. I mean, to me, my sewing is not, it is not pretty. It just isn't. It is a running stitch. That's what it is. That's how I sew. Like I said, this is relaxing to me. It's busy work. It gives me something to do with my hands when I'm sitting here at home in the evenings, listening to my gospel music or listening to something on TV or a YouTube video, whatever it is. This just keeps me busy. And so it's just what I'm doing. So you see how the stitch is on this side? That ain't pretty. It's not. You probably can't see it. But if you use the same color thread, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just trying to have something to protect myself with. And this is not anything that is going to keep you from getting the virus. Social distancing, hand washing, keeping your butt at home is what's going to help you the most. But this is if you have to be out, if you have to run out. It's better to have something than nothing at all. And so I just started making these. And people like them, my family like them, so I just make them. And then I've seen that we've been getting boxes of masks from seamstress at home. They've been at home sewing for the hospitals as well, so those are starting to come in. So this is just a quick, easy tutorial on how I make them. Like I said, I'm not a seamstress. I don't have any measurements. I really can't tell you. I'm just telling you as I go what I do. It is 7.5 by 7.5. That was the easiest for me. It took a couple tries to figure that out, and I figured out that that was what works. If you want to make it bigger or smaller, you'll have to figure out your own measurements because I truly don't know. I just figured it out the best I could for me, and it seemed to work. So I just went with it. So just a straight running stitch, and we'll be back. All right, so after you get that all sewn all the way across, you've got that pliable. See how that sits there like that? you've got that piece in there that you can pinch against your nose and it stays just the way you pinch it. So on the other end, you are going to fold that over. You do not need any type of metal or anything in there. You're just going to fold this in and you're going to just sew it to make your edges nice. You don't want rough, raw edges. So nothing in this piece. You only need the metal or the pipe cleaner or the bread ties or whatever you're using to pinch against your nose in one end. You do not need it in both ends. So you're going to pin this in. I just eyeball it. I don't have any measurement as to if this is a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. I don't know. I guess I could measure it and tell you, but it's not that serious. It really isn't. At least it isn't for me. So then you're going to do a running stitch across there as well. So now that you've got this end sewn together or stitched down where you have your pipe cleaner, and then this end folded over and stitched down, there's nothing in this end at all. Then you're going to go ahead and fold it back over where we ironed it nice and neat. You're going to fold these two pieces together. Fold it just like that. That's all you're going to do. Just fold those together. And then the side that is pliable, this side where your pipe cleaner is the side that you want up and facing you. The side that's very pliable or loose, that doesn't have anything sewn in it, no metal or anything, that's the bottom side. So got that folded over nice and neat, like folded, and this is even. So then the next step that you want to do is start to fan fold. So you want to just bring that down. See this? See my hands? Just bring that down. So you have this piece like this, but it's coming down. And again, I am so sorry. That's why I wasn't going to put this video up. I don't have measurements. I eyeball it. Let me see if I can get you. This is a simple mask. So this is where the piece would be that you press against your nose. So you're just doing a fan fold down. How this is folded down, folded down, folded down, like that. That's what you're doing, like an accordion. So you're doing it on this. And you're folding everything all at once. Like fold that down, front and the back, not just the front and the back. Fold that down. When you get that fold, take your straight pin and pin it. And this was trial and error as well, because when I first folded it, I folded too much. And I may do it again. You just take it apart. And then you want to fold down again. Just make another pleat, stick your fingers under here, put these fingers on top, and just pull that down. And it's hard to see because it's red, I guess. I don't know. But it makes it hard to see. I'll show you when I get it folded. And then you pin that one as well. And there's only 3 folds. You're going to do one more. Put your fingers underneath. Put these fingers on top. Pinch it. And just fold it down. Just like that. Your last fold is going to be smaller than the other 2. It just comes out that way. So you kind of have a bigger fold at the top, a medium fold in the middle, and a small fold at the bottom. And then I put my pins in it. And this is what it looks like. When you folded it down, your folds go like this. You can stick your finger in here, stick your finger in here. You can stick your finger in here. And then this is the nose piece that's pliable. See how that bends? Okay, so that's what we're doing. And then I take my iron and I run it in the middle just to get those creases in there. Just my own little personal thing that I do. All right, so now that that's done, next step. Hold on. So you guys remember that piece of fabric that we cut off in the very beginning, and I said hold on to that because it's going to matter. Now we need it. So I'm going to take that piece of fabric, fold it in half, and I just iron it. And the only reason I did that is because I want that crease in there so I can cut it more evenly. So fold that piece of fabric in half and just cut it down the middle. So now you have two strips like this. If you want to know how long they are, they should be about 7.5 inches because I think that's what we cut off the end. It doesn't matter how long they are, believe me. Yep, 7.5 inches because it's what we cut off the end. Each strip is 7.5 inches long by about 1.25 inches wide. That does not matter. Whatever fabric that we cut off at the beginning when we were cutting this piece, that's the fabric you keep because that's what we're going to use. You need these strips for your ends. So take the ends and I take my fabric and I set this here like that because this is going to fold over like this. This is what's going to close off these ends. See? You're going to sew that on there, front and back. It just makes like a little, I can't think of what they call it in the sewing world because I'm not a seamstress. But it just makes a nice, neat edge because these are all rough and frayed and raw edges. So you want a nice edge to it. It has a name for it. I don't know what it is when they do this, when they fold this over. So you're going to fold this over and you are going to sew it here and here. Put the fabric under like this. Put that on top. Fold it over and sew it. We'll be right back. So this is what it looks like when you've sewn that piece of fabric on there. That's what it looks like. You're going to do the same thing on the other side. So now we've got both sides sewn. We're going to take our pins out. And you can see that both sides are sewn. Like this side and that side, they're both sewn with the little edges on it just to make it neater and have a cleaner look. So now we are going to add on the elastic that's going to hold this around our ears. We're going to cut this off. This is the elastic, and I didn't, all I'm doing is cutting out that metal piece, and I didn't trim it other than that. I left it just the way it was.